and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And this is Mark Florence.
And today we're talking about Twilight Zone, the movie. I have not seen this in a really long time. It came out in 1983, and I remember watching it a lot when I was little, but I don't think I've rewatched it in my adult years at all.
I think I saw this probably 20 years ago. It's vaguely familiar. I remember the opening scene with Dan Aykroyd and the other guy. That's pretty cool. Short little introduction. And we're currently on the second story, and I do remember this one too.
So that first one, they're driving down the curvy road at night, and their tape breaks, which is the thing that happened, and their radio doesn't come in, and so they're talking about scary things first of all, and the guy is shutting off the lights and driving without headlights for a while. Did you ever know anybody who did that?
We used to do that when we lived in Cherry at night, and then you could just run right through the stop sign if there's no other lights coming. Well,
yeah, I mean, there was like a four-way stop where usually there weren't cars coming in. If you turned off your lights, you could see, but not in like a dangerous way. I mean, not that that's not dangerous, but did anybody ever do that? Like driving down the highway or country roads?
No. I would never associate with someone who would do that.
Well, I don't know. I just think that's scary. I think it's unsafe. Now, I knew somebody who said that his uncle used to do that, and then they would drive on the opposite side of the road with their lights off until they would see a car coming and then get back in their lane and put the lights on, and it would always scare people. And he said one time when they were driving in the left lane with their lights off, a car passed them in the right lane with their lights off.
Must have been the same kind of people, I guess.
Not good.
That's crazy. That's too dangerous for me.
So I remember this opening prologue, and it's used to scare me when Dan Aykroyd turned around and was like, "Do you want to see something scary?" And he turned around and he was like this creature. This time, it was just kind of cheesy. So, I guess you grow up and you're not scared of the same things.
Yeah, I kind of knew it was coming, and then he turned over and he had like this blue monster face. It was kind of scary, I guess, but since I knew it was coming, it didn't really get me.
Now, this second story, this is called Time Out, and I remember this being my least favorite of the stories when I was little, but when we just started it, I realized it's because I didn't get it. Like, this guy is like this huge racist, and now he's been put back in World War II Nazi Germany. And like I was just saying to Mark, like, this is probably the first time I'm actually going to get it, because it was too nuanced for me, and I was 7 or whatever to fully understand. But do you know the big controversy surrounding this particular episode in this movie?
No, I do not.
So this is part of the reason why I wanted to pause and record. This lead actor and 2 kids died while they made this. There's going to be an explosion, and he is literally, we're going to see his death on film, and 2 children. And the children who died were hired illegally. They were shooting in the middle of the night. John Landis directed this segment, and it's a huge controversy. Steven Spielberg ended his friendship with him over this and the unsafe practices. And we're going to see this guy die on film, Mark.
I don't know what to say right now. That's unbelievable. I did not know that, and that sounds just awful, and now I don't even want to watch it.
I know, like, I feel sick, but I also had to tell you before we watched it, because it's going to, like, put this different feeling on it. And I don't remember, hearing about this until a couple years ago when I was reading about, I think, something terrible Max Landis said. But yeah, it is completely, unreal when an actor's really going to die in a film.
I can't believe they even kept shooting the movie or released the movie after that would happen. That just seems in bad taste to me. Well,
yeah, and I guess there was supposed to be one more scene, and then they wrapped it up in a different way or something. But also, yeah, how could you even release this segment in the movie when that happened? I don't know. So we're going to continue watching, and then we'll talk more about it. The thing this makes me realize is that Twilight Zone was always about current things and justice and morals and doing the right thing. But at the same time, we're still dealing with the same problems, different, same bigot, different era.
Yeah, it seems like most of the stuff is still prevalent today, if probably more so. So it's kind of sad to watch this thing from 1983 and realize that not much has changed.
They cut that scene. There's no helicopter crash scene. Thank God. We didn't see him die on film. I feel sick.
Yeah, I feel weird right now. It seems out of place. Like, now they're at some nursing home type thing. It just seems weird. It doesn't really make sense. Do you know what the original ending was?
Well, he was supposed to go back through the time eras again. And the final Vietnam scene was he was with some children and they were trying to escape on a helicopter. And the helicopter actually crashed or exploded and they died.
And that's how it ended up ending, or?
No, I don't think that's how it's supposed to end, but that's literally how they died. So they didn't film anything else. Twilight Zone's getting me in all the feels like this old man in the nursing home, and he just wants to come visit and his kids aren't letting him.
Yeah, he's got both of his suitcases packed, and he's got one in each hand, and he's just sad watching his family leave him. Is that supposed to be Jeopardy they're watching without Alex Trebek?
It looked like it. And those point values seemed low, didn't they?
Well, it was back a lot of money back then.
So the old folks home one, it just felt kind of cheesy and the music was over the top. I appreciated seeing, I can't think of his name now from The Shining, but it was so heavy-handed.
The music, the classic kind of Hollywood score the whole time. Just cheesy. The kids immediately regretting their decision to become kids was kind of fake. I think they would have enjoyed being kids a little bit longer than 1 minute before they realized everything. Yeah, just the whole thing. It got really long. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I did not like it either. I think, like you said, would you immediately choose to become an adult again? I don't know. I don't think I would want to relive my childhood. As they were saying, like, I don't want to have to go to school again or watch all the people I love die. But at the same time, they pretty quickly made up their minds.
Yeah, they immediately brought up every bad part about reliving their life. And they thought of none of the positive aspects of it. So, I don't know. Negative Nellies, Debbie Downers. But I guess they were left with their older bodies but a young mind. So that's good, I guess.
So I guess the moral of the story is, stay young at heart. So if you were given the chance to relive your childhood, would you?
Definitely, yeah. Well, I guess I'm not super old right now, but yeah, I would go back and redo it.
The next episode was called It's a Good Life, and it's about the little kid who kind of tricks this woman into coming home with him. He says it's his birthday, but then things aren't right at the house. And I remember that episode and being kind of freaked out and then having some creepy imagery. It didn't hold up to my fears like it did when I was little, but I think the allegory now is, be careful what you wish for, because he could make wishes come true, and his life was like cartoonish, and the adults in his life were in a living hell.
Pretty heavy-handed, pretty, I don't know. I don't think it was that well made. The acting was cheesy, corny. I don't know. The music was dumb. The house looked stupid. I don't know.
Wow, you're not pulling any punches on this one.
I'm sorry. No, I remember that one from back in the day, and I thought it was cool, maybe because I was younger, like when I was a kid, but it was just pretty dumb. I felt sorry for the lady who ended up being trapped. I don't know. The sister, the younger girl, got put into the cartoon. It's pretty stupid. I don't know. Sorry, I'm being negative.
No, it's okay. I don't know. And then how it ended up is that the woman convinced him, like, hey, we can use this power for good or in a different way, and I'll be your teacher and your student. And, I think that was a nice ending, a happy ending for everybody, because they were going to go and create a new life where he could make his wishes come true, but hopefully she can help him control it and he can stop being so selfish. So, I guess it's okay, but what a journey. So now 20,000 feet. It's a Nightmare at 20,000 feet now. And John Lithgow. And, of course, we've seen 3 iterations of this. The William Shatner, John Lithgow, and Adam Scott in the newest. So, I think this one is holding up pretty well. What do you think?
This one's a little better. I remember this one a lot. Something on the wing. There's something on the wing. Guys going nuts. I think I remember this one maybe from like the 1960s or 50s or whatever. But, yeah, John Lithgow, great performance.
And, like the scary stuff happening in the air, there's definitely terror there regardless of what's causing it or this gremlin thing. But, this creature is pretty creepy, too.
Oh, I can see it right now. It's definitely on the wing. He's right. Everybody else is wrong. They're saying lightning hit the wing and the engine's out, but now it seems like the plane's going down. Yeah, it's good. These people are kissing. This guy's got a mannequin or a doll. Is that Ted Danson?
No. Okay, so I just read, I think it was on Twitter this morning, I read that a woman in flight opened the airplane door because she wanted to get some fresh air.
That is just stupid.
And also, shouldn't there be a thing where you can't possibly open the airplane door while in flight? You'd think there'd be some sort of safety protocol.
Yeah, you would think so. I think there is, but apparently not on the exit roll. Yeah, you should be put in prison for life for doing that.
I always remember that face grab and finger wag when I think of this episode.
The monster is trying to destroy the planes, and then it grabs him on the face and waves his finger at him. Why?
As he smokes, he says, check if there's any fuel leaking out of here, and he, lights up.
Ridiculous.
He was right. There was definitely a gremlin on the wing, because it's all scratch-marked and torn up. Wait, is it going to be in the ambulance? Is it going to attack his ambulance?
I bet. I think so. Ooh, Aykroyd is the driver. Full circle. Oh my god!
I like the callback to the beginning. That was nice.
Yeah, I had no idea that was coming. That was a good. And Aykroyd looks so young in this one. That's pretty cool.
Now, when was Caddyshack out? Or Caddyshack 2? What is the movie you don't like him from?
Caddyshack 2. He tries to basically be Bill Murray. Bill Murray was awesome in the first one, and Dan Aykroyd came back and tried to basically emulate him in the second one, and I just never liked him after that.
Well, I don't know if we should rank each story, if we should just rank the movie as a whole, probably. Let's just rank the movie as a whole, because I don't have it in me to talk about some of those again. I was waiting to say the Rotten Tomatoes until after, because I didn't want it to affect your viewing, but no, I'm going to tell you now. It was 58%. I think that's being generous.
Yeah, totally. Some of the stories were good. Maybe 2. The first little intro was kind of cool. The last little thing with Dan Aykroyd was cool. But the 2 middle ones... 3 middle ones? How many were there? 5? 4?
Hold on. I guess there were 4. Yeah, there were 4. Yeah, the 2 middle ones were, ugh.
But they felt so long. It was pretty much like 30. So yeah, the one at the nursing home and the kid who could do the wishes, that was, I don't know, not great. The one where he goes through the different wars with the racism and all that, I like that one. Mm-hmm. And the last one is just a classic. So I enjoyed that one too. So I guess, what's our scale of ranking?
So 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie, and the scale, Dan Aykroyd, scary faces?
Sure, that's the most memorable thing about the whole deal.
So how many, do you want to rank the whole movie or individual parts?
Well,
Okay, so the whole movie, how many do you give Twilight Zone, the movie?
I'm going to give it a 4 of Dan Aykroyd's scary faces. I don't know. Didn't hold up well. Corny music. Heavy-handed storytelling in a couple of the stories. I don't know. I just didn't really draw me in. So sorry, everybody.
You know, and I really, truly probably haven't watched this since I was a kid. I'm giving it a 5 because the epilogue and the prologue lifted it up, and like I said, those book ended. I mean, they really knew how to bookend, start strong and end strong. But wow, the things that I remember, like that have a lasting image in my brain, they did not hold up, and so that's kind of disappointing. It's kind of sad. So that makes me really happy that we have the new Twilight Zone series, because it's like it just can continue this love and make it even better.
Then that shocker you told me about that guy dying and those kids dying, I mean, that just made me feel weird and, I don't know, just kind of awkward about watching it, knowing the guy died making it. And then when they didn't show it, I'm glad they didn't show it, but it felt like something was totally missing when they ended it with the guy on the train and he could see his buddies at the bar. It's probably a good point that I think you could see his hand. So maybe like they just used somebody else's hand if they shot that after he died or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but wow, I mean, what a tragedy. And I can't even believe that. Yeah, they continued to make the movie and released it. I mean, I guess things happen. I mean, stunt people die. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Didn't like Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee die on the set of a movie and they still release those movies? Or
Brandon Lee for sure. I don't know if Bruce Lee died on the set of a movie, but wow. Oh, so who directed the 4th segment was George Miller, who directed Mad Max Fury Road, which was one of my all-time favorite movies. So, I mean, it had decent people connected.
And then to hear that Spielberg directed the nursing home one, it kind of made sense with the way he makes movies with like the Indiana Jones type music and all that, but it just didn't fit. It didn't work in this scenario, so that's probably the worst piece of work I've ever seen Spielberg make.
Oh, wow. You're seriously being cruel. Well, we hope that we haven't ruined this movie for you, but check it out if you want to. I mean, maybe it will live up to your memory of it. I'm not sure.
Hi, Horror Rewinders. This is Meg with a new segment I'm calling Meg's Spooky Book Corner, where I strongly suggest books that I think you guys would like and you should read. As you know, I love to read, particularly horror, and I also love true crime and all those sorts of things. And if you have any suggestions, even maybe a book you wrote that you think I would like, feel free to message Horror Rewind on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. Okay, so the first book I'm going to discuss, and by the way, I'm not going to give spoilers because I want you guys to go out and buy copies. And this is actually a free book that I read on Serial Reader, which I've talked about before. It's an app where you can read like classic books. So this one you can actually pick up for free. It's a public domain old book, and I think you guys would really like it. Now, it's not certainly horror, it's nonfiction, but if you sort of like things that I like in the true crime vein, I think you're really going to enjoy it. So it's a book by Nellie Bly, who was a journalist back in the late 19th century. And she has kind of become a hero for me after reading her book, which I'm going to talk to you about today. It's called 10 Days in a Madhouse. But also just reading her biography, she's fascinating. And she actually would, for her journalistic sort of approach to life, she would really delve into her subject matter. And for one thing, she decided to try the sort of to see if it was true, if you could actually go around the world in 80 days, like the novel by Jules Verne that came out. And she actually did it. She left November 14th, 1889, and she went all around the world, completely 360 until she got back in January of 1890. And I think that's pretty cool. She was just wearing the clothes on her back and had a few changes of underwear. And while she was in Singapore, she bought a monkey. So I don't know. If you're looking for a hero, I think Nellie Bly is it. But the book that I'm going to discuss, 10 Days in a Madhouse, again, she's amazing. So she originally wrote this for a New York newspaper because she was a journalist. So it appeared that way and then later became a book. Now it's quite short. It's really not a novel length. I would call it, it's about 20,000 words or so. So I'd call it more of like a novella. But it's about her experience. It's written, first person in her own words, how she pretended to be insane in order to be committed to what they called at the time a madhouse. And this was in New York. And the madhouse itself was at a place called Blackwell Island. And Nellie Bly actually successfully got herself put into the asylum. And it is just fascinating because she writes about the women she meets there. She's in an all women's area. And about how many of the women there don't deserve to be there. It's a topic that Kelly and I have discussed before on Horror Rewind, but really reading it from her perspective was fascinating. So she sort of discusses these women, like for instance, there's a woman who just simply can't speak English, and she's locked in this asylum because basically she has no way to communicate. It's terrifying. And then the way that the women are treated, it's so fascinating to see how brave Nellie Bly is to be put in this situation. She describes the meals, which is really sort of fascinating, and how bad they are. She describes how cold it is, how there are elderly people there that, don't have proper clothes and are freezing. It's really an indictment on the asylums of the time. And she only was able to get out of there because people from the newspaper came and vouched for her. But the cool thing is after she got out, there were reforms to asylums. Of course, as we know, that was just a little blip because asylums and the abuse of people in them went on for a very long time. But you guys, if you have the chance to read 10 Days in a Madhouse, it will really unsettle you. It's not only fascinating but unsettling. And if you're interested in that time period, if you're interested in the way asylums worked, this is somebody like really seeing what's happening for real. It's not fiction. And of course that is always scarier than anything. So read 10 Days in a Madhouse by Nellie Bly. I know there is also a movie version starring Christina Ricci on the Lifetime channel, actually, with also Judith Light in it. I have not watched it, but I'm sure it's fascinating too. But I think if you have the chance to catch this book, like I said, you can read it for free on Serial Reader, which is one of my favorite apps, and I really recommend you do so. So happy reading, or should I say happy spooky reading.
Until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.